Updates are underway. Marlena. My computer has now decided it's going to update, so I'll just be depending on you. Yeah, I shouldn't.
Oh,
but
okay.
I walk away and it's like, all right, well,
Probably. Want me to stop that?
I don't care.
Hey Brittany, we're updating.
There's some-
Yeah, I think we're just gonna have to let it go.
It's fine.
When
I'll be fine.
When it finishes, I can come over and when you log back and I'll log you back into the.
Okay,
Holy cow, that's not good.
How do you walk away? Yeah, 'cause it was logged in.
yeah. Good morning. I would like to call the South Sound 911 Board of Directors meeting of September 17th to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Board Member Branstetter. Board Member Bushnell.
Excused?
Alternate Sharp for Board Member Casebolt. Board Member Denson. Alternate Morrow for Board Member Holm.
Here.
Board Member Hubler.
Here.
Board Member Holsey.
Excused?
Board Member Mello.
Here.
Board Member Rumbaugh.
Here.
Vice Chair McGilligan.
Here.
And Chair Dorr.
Here, thank you. And Board Member Bushnell is now here. Okay, next we have public comment. Did we receive any written public comment before the meeting?
No public comment has been received.
And has there been anybody that signed up to in person today?
None today.
Okay, seeing that, we will open and close public comment. Next, we have approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion?
Chair, move to approve the agenda. Present.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Approve the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion, the agenda is approved. Next is the consent agenda. Will the clerk please read the consent agenda?
Item number 1, approval of the minutes of the August 20th, 2025 Board of Directors meeting. Item number 2, motion 2022-35 to authorize approval of the Phoenix Protective Security Corporation Security Guard Service Contract for the Public Safety Communications Center at 3580 Pacific Avenue and the 35th Street Backup Communications Center in an amount not to exceed $102,000 plus any applicable sales tax. And item number 3, motion 2025-36 to authorize approval of a contract with NASM Landscaping for landscape maintenance of South Sound 911 facilities in an amount not to exceed $100,750 plus any applicable sales tax.
Okay, is there any item on the consent agenda a member would like removed and placed on another area of the agenda for discussion? Okay,
Madam Chair,
yes.
move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
All right, moved and seconded, the consent agenda be approved as written. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Consent agenda is approved. And next, we have the radio system providers update, and I'm looking at Ariel because she's the first representative that I see. Is there an update?
Good morning. As I discussed last month, we actually don't have a meeting scheduled till September. And so the next update will be after September 26th. I think next Friday is when we meet next.
Okay, great. Any questions about Chief Sharp? You're in the easy seat now. We don't have the report of no report. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oops, and I will turn off the silence on the phone. Okay. Executive Director briefing, Mr. Yamamoto.
Good morning, members of the board. And we've got a number of things to do in the housekeeping category this morning. I recognize this is a bit unusual. Housekeeping matters looking forward into the next year might typically come in a late yearly meeting, typically in December. But as you can see from the materials, we will schedule a study session on the topic of radio in the December session. So this board actually has a chance this year to speak to that from a policy perspective. The board's heard a lot of report outs this year from various staff members, but has not spoken to the issue. And also, it's important that members of this board who have been here a long time, who may be moving on, get to speak to the issue in a sort of legacy fashion as we move into the new year. So December will be taken up in many ways and doesn't allow the opportunity for us to do some housekeeping. So I'm going to jump to that first. On page 34 of your packet, beginning there, I just want to ask you some questions about your calendar upcoming in the year, and to let you know, under your charter requires at least 4 meetings a year, and typically these days you are operating on a 11 meeting schedule per year. You can change it, you can leave it at 11. You can shrink it down as small as 4 if you so desire. Again, you don't have to decide these kind of issues today, but if you give us feedback when you're looking at your schedules into the upcoming year, we'll develop a schedule around that. So first question is, how many meetings do you want in the year? From 4 to 11. Second question is, on what day of the week do you prefer that your board meetings occur? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You can choose any of those days. Also, what week of the month do you prefer? First, second, third, or fourth? And if you provide us feedback on those 3 key factors, we'll develop a schedule around that. One thought that has occurred as we're talking about preparing for next year is whether or not you want to work virtual meetings by default into your schedule. Part of our discussion was a very good discussion about this. There's value in events where we show up together and are in each other's presence physically. I think that point is well taken. Nonetheless, we recognize that at times during the year, and I'll just use the June example, we know what happens in June in our life experience. There's graduations, there's weddings, there's people move. And so that tends to be a month where it's difficult for people to show up. So thinking about your schedule, if you generally come to a consensus, hey, this type of month could be a better scheduled as a virtual meeting, then think about that as well. But you don't have to use virtual meetings. We certainly have a nice option here for participation by virtual as well. So again, from 4 to 11 meetings, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and what week? And you can send us emails, you can call me on the phone, you can send us texts, and we'll gather your input and then develop a calendar based on that.
Go ahead, Board Member Branstetter.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Yam. I would just note that in your report, and you designate meetings as in person or virtual, but in practice, we have been having, like the meeting today, all meetings hybrid, where those who would have a circumstance of where a virtual meeting is more appropriate for them are been attending virtually, rather than mandating that everyone come virtually or mandating that everyone come in person, as we have been doing. So I think the in-person is not necessarily, I wouldn't want that an in-person meeting scheduled to be in person to become excluding persons who on a particular month are able to attend virtually. And so I'm kind of satisfied with the way that it is now, and let on each individual month a board member can determine whether their attendance will be virtual or in person, with perhaps there being some special meetings of where physical presence is needed.
Board Member Rumbaugh.
Thank you, Chair. And I want to thank you, Kevin, for this conversation. And I want to suggest that maybe if we did a Survey Monkey, it might be easier to gather all your information. And I also really appreciate you thinking about just having only virtual meetings. I think, everyone kind of getting here. And I think I love that you're not considering, I prefer us have more more meetings, have the 11 meetings. I've been on the Crystal Judson Family Justice Center board. I was just talking to the executive, and we only meet every other month. And when things happen, we have to have these special meetings all the time. And I think the more often you meet and the board knows what's happening with an agency, the better job you do stewarding and doing the job you're supposed to do. And so I want to say that I've been on boards where we meet less and less happens and you feel less connected. And the more that we are here and we understand what you're doing and can be there as your partner, as the people we're supposed to be, which is helping you be successful and doing the mission of South Sound 911, the better this agency is. So I'm not really interested in having less meetings, but I am interested in making it easier for people to feel like they can participate. And I feel kind of shamed if I go virtual unless I'm gone because we're at some conference or something.
Recognize that.
So you requiring a virtual meeting, I like that because then I don't feel shamed if I'm on flying at home. So thank you.
That's my sense.
I noticed you have here, day of the week of the month, all that. I don't see any consideration for the time. Should that be a fourth element, or is it intended that we would stay at the same time of the day?
I recognize the evenings are already taken up. And that's either Monday Night Football or Lakewood, who is still confused and has council meetings on Monday night. And it goes from there. Tuesday for Puyallup. Sorry, Mr. Travis. So I recognize the evenings are just, they're not even viable. So I'm saying, let's just leave it in the morning. I think the morning actually works for this group generally. So we can try, but I can see that's what we're gonna get. So, it could be a fourth element, but I just don't think it's viable to go into the evening.
Well, I'll just.
For the
say-
record, I was not looking to come here in the evening. I just wondered if there was a different time during the day.
Yes, it could occur during a different time during the day.
Yes.
Yes.
For the record, I am not a morning person.
Okay.
So, but I think the morning does make a lot of sense. I agree actually with both of you. I like the option of being virtual if needed. I also feel like I ought to be in here in person because one, it's in Tacoma. I don't have to go that far. I also recognize that other folks have to come, from a significant distance to attend. And so I think I feel like we've been in a hybrid environment already, and I feel like that lends itself enough flexibility. And I don't feel ashamed if I, for some reason, have to, attend virtually or something like that. And I've tried to have my meetings in person whenever I can because of the connection that you mentioned. But I'm certainly open to virtual also. I'm not against it. I just was curious because on line 4, you mentioned here that we're technically not in compliance with our bylaws with the current meeting schedule. So what would it take to rectify that? And it does seem to me that it's a little prescriptive to be in a bylaw, at
We
least for
agree.
something like this.
We agree with your legal analysis, Councilmember Michelle. It shouldn't be in the bylaw. It should be in a resolution that you folks pass every year when you do your calendar. It's too formal to be in the bylaws. We'll extract it from the bylaws. It's a resolution. And then you'll just set your calendar by resolution every year. 100% agree it shouldn't be in the bylaws.
Okay. And so just the board can change the bylaws at
Yep.
any time? Okay.
Yes, absolutely. And we will go through a process this upcoming year, probably in the first quarter, where we update and overhaul your bylaws so they reflect a little bit more of the current status. But that's going to be an effort, a grindy kind of effort, which you will work with Kendra on. So
Do we intend on putting like a subcommittee together for something like that and maybe bringing it? to
if
the
there's an
full
interest,
board?
I would love to have the
Yeah.
subcommittee on it. We'd be a lot more nimble if we did that.
I'll volunteer myself.
Subcommittee for what?
A bylaws.
Bylaws
subcommittee
committee.
Review.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've reviewed many a bylaws
Okay.
and also wrote some of my own. Actually, I
Committee
find
of one.
I find it enjoyable. So
If
I'll volunteer myself.
you
for
have
that.
volunteered, your name,
Yeah.
your name has been written down now. Okay.
But yeah, so I generally feel like Wednesdays work really well, and again, I think Survey Monkey would probably get more details, but I think I'll just stop talking now. So thank you.
No, but your feedback is appreciated.
Vice Chair?
Executive Director, you came up with a suggestion on June. Historically, how stacked is our agenda in June? I think that might help us because you're right, there's a lot of graduations, there are a lot of things going on. People are getting ready to go out for vacation. And if we had the information that most of the agendas in the month of June are light, we could actually say, okay, we don't meet in June because we already don't meet in November. So if that would help, but I like the idea of having all the meetings scheduled.
Yep.
Because we can always cancel a meeting. It's harder to schedule a meeting than it is to cancel a meeting. So I agree with Sarah and everybody that's talking here, except for the later meetings. So, but but one of the things was, it was 2 years ago or something like that. We used to meet on the fourth Wednesday of the month, and I asked the board to possibly move it to the third because I got appointed to a governor's left to retirement board, and we did move it. So it was done by resolution, wasn't it, Julie?
I
Or
speak to that specifically.
we can go back and check.
Okay.
So, and I think that's perfect. And I appreciate the time that we're doing this. And one of the other things that we haven't done in a while, if we've done it at all, hopefully if you can put it out, a retreat for this board, not during the week, because we're all busy. We all have other meetings we got to go to, but like a 4-hour meeting on a Saturday that we can actually discuss issues that we need to start moving ahead. And I think this is perfect. This is a great time. Your report right now opens it up to, okay, let us all get on the same page and start moving in the same direction. And we all know where we want to go. It's just, we all have different ways that we want to get there. And I think if we can focus on single system, single owner, when are we going to spend the money? How are we going to spend the money? And we have some other issues too that I think we could put a packet together and say, the old saying is pigs go to heaven, hogs go to slaughter. So if we just start biting at the apple slowly, we can move ahead, because it's been 14 years and we haven't done, we built a building, moved forward. We're still not a single system. We're still not a single owner.
Yeah.
And those are the two priorities we're moving to be able to, dispatch for the county. And making sure that we're moving in that direction, I think would be great. So if we could think about maybe a retreat, and I put that in the Survey Monkey to see, first is if anybody's interested, and second, what's the best month to have that type of thing.
I appreciate the suggestion, Mr. Vice Chair. The retreats, as we all know, can be very valuable use of time, and they can get a board lined up on action items. So we'll put that into Survey Monkey and see if there's an interest. What you're proposing, by the way, is realistic, something like a 4-hour retreat, not a weekend retreat or something like that. But a 4-hour block is probably realistic for the group. But we'll check and see if there's availability and interest.
And we could probably start that later in the day. So that would.
So tag on to Joe's bylaw committee. So, Kevin, I have a question on, if we have a virtual meeting, aren't we required to have people here anyway because the public can attend?
Possibly. There's an update on that occurred in a couple of years ago in the public records world and in the Open Public Meetings Act. And I'm going to turn to our attorney and have her answer that question.
So yes, Chair Dorr, and Kevin is precise in the update to the Open Public Meetings Act. So in practice, a staff member would need to be here to open the facility and have the ability for public comment and the public to be here and present and to watch the virtual meeting. A board member does not have to be present physically, though.
So we're not, I guess what I was getting out of my question was, we're not eliminating a staff need necessarily. And we do hybrid currently, so.
Yeah, Chair, your point is well taken. We'd still have to have, as you're saying, a physical presence here. But I recognize sometimes, just like the point has been made among the board members, if there is a physical meeting, sometimes people feel compelled to come to the physical meeting. So it is a way of letting people off the hook. I acknowledge that.
So then, and the other thing about the June meeting that I would want to flag for the next board is that funding requests are due in May. That's, we're getting into budget preparation time there. So if there's something that needs to be discussed, the elimination of June meeting could be problematic there unless that process was changed.
All right, so thank you very much for that feedback. This is some additional signaling into the future. As you can see in the board report that I prepared, what currently is characterized as a vision for South Sound 911 is not a vision. And so once the board reforms itself in the year, we will prepare or work with the board to prepare a vision statement. A vision statement is about the future. It's not what we're doing now. It's not our current mission. It's about what we all envision in the future. The illustration that I put in the packet makes that easy to see because we can understand that. Blue Origin, which is the space company, Jeff Bezos' space company, their vision is for millions of people living and working in space. That's obviously not the current status of what's the situation. And so their mission is to build the road to space. And so our vision here needs to be the future state that we work toward. But once the board reforms and reassembles, we'll work on a vision statement for the organization. Let's see, also then, this is a key item, I think, for, this is one of the biggest items that we talk about here in that single system, or it's said another different way, countywide emergency communications, whatever you want to refer to it as. We need to form, I believe, a committee here of the board for radio. That could be a 3 or perhaps a 5, but a 3 is just a much more nimble. I'll tell you this right away. Once I sent out that email, I had strong interest from Councilmember Denson, who, by the way, has a very good case for being a member of the radio committee, given that her representation area needs that type of service. So let's form that committee. It will be very helpful as we address radio in the future. It is a key thing that this organization is built around. So I strongly recommend that.
Is that are you looking for that this year or are you looking for it next year?
To form this year, to begin to work into the next year, Chair.
Okay, so the question I have about that is, I don't know where we have election cycle. The board may be different next year and you will have a different chair next year. So don't know how you want to.
Yeah.
I mean,
And so
but
what I'm really doing is asking you to begin to think about it. And then as some of the election results come in and we have an idea who the permanent board members will be in the next several years or couple of years upcoming, then I think we can begin to identify folks that could go on that board.
then I can't speak for the rest of the jurisdictions, but like in Puyallup, there'll be a new mayor, which means new appointments to the committees. So the election does not necessarily mean that the same people will be reappointed to this board.
Okay. Your point is well taken.
Madam Chair, I am very interested in radios. I always have been.
Okay.
I think it needs to be worked on. I like the committee. I'm putting
Okay.
my name in right now.
All
I
right.
know I'm going to be here. I know Robin's going to be here, right? We're not going anywhere? Okay.
Board Member Branstad?
Yeah, I do think that the forming of a committee is, members could be better aware of whether this is something they want to be a part of after the December study session. So forming it this year, I think is premature, but that if we to form it, do you envision this committee, given the envisioned long-term timeline of this issue persisting? Do you envision that being put into the bylaws as a permanent committee, or are you suggesting forming an ad hoc committee of a more temporary nature?
What it feels in the near term, and I'd say does this process go on forever? I'd say the most hard deadline that we have to recognize is in 2036, the funding goes away unless we renew it. So there is a deadline no matter what. And that, to me, frankly, is somewhat of a driver. Our funding source is slowly being consumed. And if we don't have a large funding source, we won't be able to accomplish a countywide communication. So I don't know. I would say we should form it and keep it in place as long as it's valuable. As long as it's useful, as long as there's meaningful issues to address in radio. It seems like that's going to be at least, if not beyond midterm or a long-term kind of thing, it's going to be a 3 to 5 year kind of thing. That feels like that. The projects of these magnitude take that long.
So
So
I guess that then I would suggest that in your effort to modernize the bylaws, that inserting the existence of this committee, being able to go and do that is probably an item that would be a good place to do that. And that, but I guess that I'm also interested is that we have, for a number of years now, been working on the where we've had the radio systems committee people giving us monthly or bi-monthly reports and working on this. Okay. So I would say that the committee maybe not be exclusively members of the board, but there could be some representation on that committee from radio users or providers to be able to go and do that, because they add a sense of reality to discussions. And informing that committee, it needs more than a title. It needs a more defined role, okay, to be able to go and do that. And so I think that can happen though early in the new year as we're reorganizing with the board as it will exist.
And I would say, Councilmember Branstetter, the committee, from my conception, not that the board has to follow this, but from my conception, is about policy. Because right now there is a radio owners group that exists and that represents the major radio owners, Pierce County, Tacoma, Puyallup as the subsystem. And I've been assigned by the board to attend those, but it's clear to me there is no policy there. It's a focus on staff level issues that you would expect that they would focus on, but it isn't policy driven. And I really think we need to begin to involve policy in this issue, have policy lead on the issue, have policy address financing and the should questions that go into a system. Policy is absent from the discussion right now in big ways. And I think policy needs to come back. Policy needs to lead on this.
You know, I would concur that maybe the focus of the committee would be policy. I would just say that the radio systems could provide valuable input to policy discussions that perhaps they're not trying to create policy for us, but if we are, their input would be important.
Board Member Brumbaugh. Oh, I apologize. Let's go with Board Member
Thank you,
Dennison.
Chair. Thank you, Chair. Well, first, I want to go on the record by saying I'm hoping this does not drag into the future for years and years. And to that note, I would propose that this be an ad hoc committee because we're really trying to drive to get something done. This is not something maybe South Sound 911 even wants to be involved with in 3 to 5 years. We want to get this sorted out. It has drug on for so long. I do concur with the comments of all the work over many, many years of the radio ownership group. And maybe, like you said, Mr. Yamamoto, what's been missing is the policy really driving getting something done. I mean, they're doing everything they can from a staff point of view, but we need the policy makers to say this is what we're going to do, and then they can figure out kind of the technical side of that and the implementation side of that. So I would suggest it be an ad hoc committee, and with the idea of if we're going to get this sorted out once and for all, we're not dragging this out another 3 to 5 years. I get the point about waiting. I hate to wait for anything. Do we really have to wait to set up this committee? Can we get started? If the members change, they change. But let's get into this and start. I think all of the parties involved want to see us come to resolution on this.
I am a GSD person. Let's get stuff done.
Let's jump in, and if we have to shift or change, we can, which is a good reason about not putting it in the bylaws either. Let's stay flexible. Maybe we want 4 people. Maybe we want to involve, different agencies. We're going to figure that out when we get into it. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We want this to be very open. We want all the best minds at the table to figure this out once and for all. So do we need a motion to create an ad hoc committee?
Can we just do that?
It's so easy to do this now, so I just-
So under your current bylaws, the chairperson has the authority to appoint persons to an ad hoc committee.
talk to the chair.
I'll work on it. All right, thank you.
Oh, I just wanted to add that on a unified regional approach to homelessness, they have the staff people working on it, but they have the policy side happening with the elected officials. And I think that this is that similar setup.
Yep.
And I think you need both. And you need to be doing that at the same time as why the radio providers are figuring out what we're doing. I do agree with you, like having us like there to nudge them a little bit, like on what we think we need to be doing.
Support.
Nudge. I like the word nudge because sometimes you just need a little push, just a little push to know that we are there for you. Either we're supporting or we've decided we want to do this, but it's unclear at this point, right? We get a lot of, we're not sure, like wishy-washy. And so I really support this. I think that the chair should put through some people to point. I think that we should appoint someone from Tacoma for sure. And I'm like putting up my trustee council member Bushnell here. I'm like making him sign up for it if she will, if the chair will approve that. But I really appreciate that we're having this conversation today. It feels like this actually will make something happen. So thank you.
Well, Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
with what Sarah just said, you need somebody from the county, you need somebody from the city, and you need somebody from the fire commissioners. And with somebody from Tacoma, somebody from the county, we could have the board right now. It's up to Julie. Let's get to it.
Do it. Yeah. Okay, anything else?
Instead of doing a heroes wear headsets, where I relay an incident to you that one of our folks has experienced directly and participated in, I wanted to just relay to you about a proactive effort by 3 of our telecommunicators, which is a pretty cool thing. So Kaylee Thomas, Julie Moore, and Christine Berghoff went to one of the conferences that they attended, and there they learned about an idea called Zero Suicide Kits. And those are assembled and often given to police officers, and then police officers, when they encounter somebody in distress, experiencing some tough circumstances in life, can provide one of the care kits to them just as a way of, a human being reaching out and extending themselves to another human being. And so the packages include things like handwritten notes, maybe some tea or coffee, candy, coloring books, colored pencils, resource information, and that kind of thing. And so they've adapted the idea. Kaylee, Julie, and Christine have adapted the idea and come up with a version for South Sound 911. And they've called them South Sound 911 Care Kits. And they've begun an effort to assemble and create these kits and then provide them to law enforcement. So if you hear in your jurisdictions that folks from give me a moment. If you hear in your jurisdictions that folks from South Sound 911 are providing these kits to the officers, then help facilitate that. The outreach could help. So I thank you very much to Kaylee, Julie, and Christine.
Any questions?
Kevin, can I ask you one more question? So Judge Sontag from Municipal Court, she's been talking to us a lot about the something that they do at the Golden Gate Bridge. They have those nets down, and she's asked our city about is there a possibility to do something on the Narrows Bridge? We have one suicide is too many suicides, but we've had several suicides off the bridge or attempted suicides. And I'm wondering if there's something that could come from South Sound 911 to kind of share that information out so that we could help. Maybe, I don't know how this organization could be helpful with that movement of having something like what they do at the Golden Gate Bridge installed. I think it's also, we have to work with the state because it's a state highway. But it would be helpful if South Sound 911 could maybe provide information to our city manager on that so that we could maybe move that forward in some way with the state.
We will put our heads together internally and we'll participate in the effort.
Okay, I'll let her know that I talked to you. Thank you.
Sorry.
Board
Real
Real
Henson.
quick, and loop in the county too, because we've had these discussions with our state legislators because it is a state bridge. So we've had, and my assistant is on the National Association for Prevention of Suicide. I'm gonna get that wrong. She's
I'll put
amazing.
you on it.
Yeah, so she's met with some of the legislators on this. We're big fans of that idea.
Okay, I see no further comments on this one. Next, we have operations and facility update. Good morning, Deputy Director Mears.
Morning, chairs. Good morning, board. Just a few items of note. My report is on page 43 on the operations side. So all the applications for our December class are in. We've started interviews for personnel. It looks like we're still heading for a class of 10 to 12 people. And so it's moving forward really well. We are in the last week of the Puyallup, so do the Puyallup. That seems to be going very well this year. No major issues at all. As far as facilities, the PSCC this month, we did our first major upgrade of software and hardware for the HVAC units in the building. And it seems to have made significant improvements in being able to monitor and regulate the heat and cool in the building at this point. 35th Street continues to progress. The comm floor, if you were to look at it now, has all new carpeting, new data under it, new grounding. We're still taking a look at overall power systems within the building for not only where we're currently at, but what the future might need. The fire suppression system is well underway. In fact, I'm hoping that it'll be completed by next week. Kitchen is nearly done. Bathrooms are done. And the only delay that it looks like we're going to have right now is we'll have a small delay beginning of October, first 2 weeks of October, because of the consoles. The manufacturing is not completed on the console, so they won't be delivered until mid-October. With that concludes my report.
Any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And Support Services update, Deputy Director Hamel. Good morning.
Good morning, board. The support services update is on page 45 this morning. Just wanted to highlight a few items for you. One, wanted to bring to your awareness a state 911 office initiative where they have solicited proposals for a CAD to CAD integration statewide, so that if a center anywhere around the state has a telephone outage, there's still a way for whatever center is receiving the calls alternatively for them can then actually do basic processing of the call and get the information to the center that's out of the water at the moment, so that if they have radios, they can still be dispatching first responders even though they can't receive the phone call. So that's a positive step for resiliency across the state to support one another. And then also just quick updates on a couple of projects. We've kicked off the CAD selection process. Director Laricella and I met last week with Federal Engineering's project manager. We have a kickoff meeting coming up, as well as we've engaged our customer agencies to get stakeholders together to do the needs assessment so we can determine what the baseline requirements are for a new CAD system, and then we'll be establishing an RFP from there. But we have activity coming up over the next several weeks to really get into what are the needs for a future CAD system. And then lastly, I wanted to highlight that we are engaged with a vendor to get a proposal and a quote for the replacement 911 telephone system. Don't have any tangible information to bring to the board today, but it's a budgeted item for 2025 and 2026. And so I wanted you to be prepared to see information about that in the coming months. And that's my report.
Any questions? Board Member Hubler.
Can you remind us what CAD is in this lingo here?
Sure.
Because it means
CAD is
different
an
things.
acronym of the 1,700 acronyms that we use it stands for Computer Aided Dispatch. So it's the software solution that is used to, you gather information from the caller and you put it succinctly in noting the location where an emergency is occurring. It gets a type code, what's going on, and some details so that it can be conveyed to the first responders.
Sure.
Anything else? All right, thank you.
Sorry, I do have one
ahead.
question on that.
Yes, go ahead.
The newer CAD systems, do they utilize any sort of artificial intelligence in order to help streamline that information input?
We're still working on gathering information about the current solutions, but artificial intelligence, whether it's native to a solution or whether it's bolted on in some fashion, is absolutely becoming part of everything technology related to our work. We're definitely seeing it in the 911 telephone system world, where there's automatic like transcription occurring live while you're on a call, or translation of foreign language caller, and you can see in English what they've said in a foreign language. The specifics of what's going to be available in CAD, I think we'll know more by mid-year next year, for sure.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Moving on, chair comments, don't have any other than I'll work on this ad hoc committee. And I noted Pat Robin and that Joe was voluntold in addition to his bylaw committee.
Julie. I hate to bring that up, and can I just ask a question?
course.
Should we have law enforcement on this too? Because we have fire commissioner. Should we also have, I'm just throwing that out there. I don't want to leave anybody out that.
Yeah, so that's one of the things to be considered because technically you are law enforcement. The fire commissioners have their seats, but the rest of us have law
Okay,
enforcement. We're
Making sure everybody feels included.
Yeah, no, that's, I need to work through that one. But thank you, I appreciate that. Okay, so the first action item, quick, please read the action item.
Item number 1, motion 2025-37 to authorize the chair of the Board of Directors of South Sound 911 to execute an executive director employment agreement with Kevin Yamamoto.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Congratulations, now you're official.
Well, thank you very much for the vote, fellow board members. To me, it's a sort of an affirmation of a relationship that we're going to have in the future. And I think there's a lot of things that we need to get doing. When I talked to Chair Dorr early in the year about the big things that need to occur, I used somebody else's characterization and they said most of the low hanging fruit in the organization has been attended to or addressed, and what remains are sort of the big challenges. I think that's very accurate. Internally, we recognize that unification, either in fact or in function, needs to occur in the organization. It's silly to have 2 different unions plus 3 different bargaining units and all the difficulties that go along with that. That's a big one. We know externally that we need to work on radio or some type of emergency communication system. I recognize policy has sort of shifted around that, but if we all recognize our charter says one of the main functions that this organization is supposed to do is operate radio. That's another big one. I have heard various folks, including Executive Mello, talk about 911 and having that system, or pardon me, 988, and having the system shifted internally into Pierce County, much like a King County system, so that we are essentially hosting here. That's a big initiative and something that we will pursue as well. Internally, you can't tell because it's not very exciting to you, but I've said things like we are working to establish process pathways. We're updating policies in the organization. We're trying to mature it. That's literally what we're trying to do. You can't see it, but I've had Kendra on working furiously to dump things into the organization from a policy standpoint and procedure standpoint so that we're using updated and modern tools in the organization. We've got work to do. I'm happy to be here. I'm excited to work with all of you. You're interesting human beings to me. Let's get stuff done.
I like his choice of words of interesting. Just gonna leave it at that. Okay, so next we have second item.
Item number 2, motion 2025-38, approval of the general council rates for 2026.
Pleased to present this one to you. South Sound 911 has had, in the personnel realm, at least two very fortunate things occur this year. One of them we'll talk about later, and that's one of your board members who decided to join our administrative side of the ranks. And so we're delighted to have Council Member Laura Sella in our midst as well. But earlier in the year, you know, I had come here to serve as general counsel because both Debbie and Peter were leaving. Debbie had asked me to serve as ID. And at some point I recognized, hey, there's no way there's enough activity here. There's enough volume of work that I can't do both, serve as general counsel and interim executive director. And so I started down the phone tree, you know, developing a list. Okay, I'm going to call these people. And guess what? On my first call, I got lucky because I called Kendra and she happened to be on a beach in Hawaii and available. And Kendra, you don't know this from a municipal perspective, but Kendra's a rare gem. She's actually an experienced city attorney. She was city attorney in Auburn for a good stretch. She knows what she's doing. The frequently common comments that I get from everybody in the organization is how delighted they are to interact with her because she knows what she's talking about. She's fast. She gets stuff done. So we're delighted to have her. Now, she wants to continue the relationship with South Sound 911, and the way to do that is every year the attorney should come to you if they're contract attorneys, and they should say, here's going to be our rates for the upcoming year. We'd like you to take a look at those, and if you accept them, approve them, and that's just the relationship into the upcoming year. You don't have a contract for a set amount. It's just we use your services, we pay you at this particular rate. Currently, she's charging us the firm, Kenyon Deason, is charging us $370 an hour. That might sound like a lot to you. In the world of attorney's fees, it's not anymore. But even better than that, because if we're willing to have a committed relationship she serves the position of solid general counsel into the years as we need. What they're going to do is present a proposed rate of $300 per hour rather than $370, just because of the committed relationship. That's an excellent rate, by the way, in current times. I gave you some additional comparables. For example, big municipal firms in the Western Washington. I said Inslee Best is at $325 an hour for that quality rate. Ogden Murphy is at $385 an hour. So Kenyon Deason coming at $300 an hour is a very good rate. To give you a sense, to give you a bit more context, what would it cost to have an in-house attorney? Peter's position, total cost of compensation per year is $316,000 per year for in-house counsel. And right now with Kendra's firm through August 31st, we're at $102,000. So far Kendra's way cheaper and has been, that's less expensive.
Less expensive.
You just said a committed relationship and way cheaper.
I accept it. I stand corrected.
Not saying anybody noticed.
Kendra is way more value. How's that? And has been a delight to work with. Kendra, you're a gem. So I strongly recommend that you approve the updated rates.
Okay, any questions? Go ahead.
We're being asked to approve a rate schedule. Does that mean that this rate schedule applies to an existing contract? I mean, a rate schedule is fine, but do we have a contract with Kenyon Deason?
Yes, it is a contract under law, but it's not a traditional contract for a block of services. It's what we would call an on-demand type of contract. And so when you use an attorney, you don't know how much hours of service you're going to need to accomplish the case or the document. And so really what you're saying is, hey, Kendra, prepare this draft contract document for me, and I will pay you per hour that it takes you to do it at $300 per hour. That's literally the way contracts with attorneys work that are providing general counsel or in-house services.
So this is a rate schedule that would be inserted into the contract relationship?
Yes,
Okay, so.
it supplants the
it-
$370 rate.
So I mean, I guess the question is this going to require an amendment to the contract?
No. You're just approving the rates, you accept them, and in effect, what Kendra's firm is saying to you, yes, we will provide you services in 2026 at $300 an hour. So no new adjustment needs to occur.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion?
Madam Chair, move 2025-38 approval of general counsel rates for 2026.
Second.
Any further discussion? Right, seeing none, call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, and motion carries. Any other items for the good of the order? Because
We've got one,
Go
Madam
ahead.
Chair.
Yes.
Real quick, I'm not sure. I think Mark Mears knew, maybe Scott Hamill knew, Rob Masco retired as the undersheriff of Pierce County a couple of years ago. Actually sat on the old operational board here and got us started to where we are today. And then they refiled. Bad thing is, Rob retired about 7 years ago, came down with a cancer that took his life this weekend. So I didn't think I was going to get emotional, but Rob is one of those guys. I served with him on a credit union board. Guy was absolutely the best. I mean, Pierce County was well served having him as the undersheriff for all the years he was here, and also serving on the boards that he did. He was one of those guys that just he was like the glacier. He pushed slowly but nicely to the point that you didn't even see that he was changing things until it changed, and you'd look at him and say, "How'd you do it?" He goes, "Well, you did it, not me." He's just a great guy. And so his passing sad, and, but he's the guy that got me involved in this. He was there in the beginning. I think Kevin knew him through the Pierce County Sheriffs, and just a great guy, and sorry to see him go. Only other thing, Kevin, if it's okay with you, I'd like to set up some time to have lunch with you before next meeting. Okay, thank you, guy. That's it.
Great. Anything else? All right.
Move to adjourn.
All those in, oh, I thought Carrie was raising her hand. No stretching and the adjournment. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We stand adjourned. Thank you.